I don't think on this one though. I think it'll roll fast. Just test. Audio test, testing 1, 2, 3. 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 Good morning, everyone. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer with the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. It's about 10:12. We should get started in the next minute. Just want to confirm that those members of the public can hear us through Zoom. If you're a Bureau representative this morning, Ryan Tolles, Fernando Lopez, Sandy Trong, and Todd Cromwell, thank you all for being here this morning. Just want to confirm that you can hear us through the Zoom application. I'm just going to select Sandy. Good morning to you, Sandy. If you can just unmute your microphone and just confirm you can hear us.
Yes, good morning, Fernando. Thank you.
Good morning, thank you. Perfect. Since we are now connected through Zoom, list of presenters for today. Item number 1 will be presented by myself and Matthew Castellano. Item number 2 through 9, Ruben Flamenco. Item 10, Arnold Taylor. Item 11, Tanya Durrell. Item 12, myself and John Menix. Item 13, Georgia Spindola. Item 14, there will be a request to continue item 14 for 3 weeks to Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. For Bureau representatives on the line, thank you again for being here this morning. And thank you, Sandy, for confirming the audio connectivity through Zoom this morning. For members of the public that would like to provide general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda, if you can please raise your hand at this time by pressing *9 or click the raise hand icon. If you're joining us live here in person in City Hall, there are speaker cards located at the back end of the room. You can go ahead and complete that speaker card and turn that in to myself up in the front. We will go ahead and add you to the queue. Again, this is for general public comment or commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. If you can please raise your hand, press *9 to raise your hand if you're joining us through a landline device or smartphone device. And if you're here in person, turn in a speaker card to speak for general public comment. Seeing no hands raised and no speaker cards being submitted, Vice President Villegas, we do have 3 commissioners in the room, and I can go ahead and start the recording for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for August 9th, 2023. Dr. Campos, if you could please just establish quorum.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Again, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, establishing quorum and roll call. We have Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioner Corzan. Vice President Villegas, you do have a quorum at this time. Vice President Villegas, we do not have any callers on the line under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section, and we do not have any callers or speakers on any of the items for today's agenda for public comment.
Okay, then if we don't have general public comment or Neighborhood Council comments, then we will close those items and move on in our agenda. And let's then take approval of the meeting minutes for July 26th. If I can have a second to my motion for approval of the minutes.
Second.
All right, Dr. Campos, we have a motion by myself and a second by Dr. Davis. If you could please take roll call.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation now. We'll start with you, VP Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
And Commissioner Corzan.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, then let's get started with our business at hand today. And why don't we start with item number 1? And that's the bids, and they were received today at 10 a.m. And that's for the Sidewalk Repair Program, package number 59, and that's work order E1909076 with an estimated value of $1,926,873 for Council Districts 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, and 14. And I'll turn this over to you, Dr. Campos.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, will open up the bids at this time. We did receive 3 bids for this project. Again, this is for the Sidewalk Repair Program, package number 5959 in Council Districts 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, and 14. The first bid received for this project is from Geronimo Concrete Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,958,519 even. That's 1958519 from Geronimo Concrete Incorporated. The second bid received for this project is from the Axiom Group for a total bid amount of $1,533,071.25. That is 1533071.25 from the Axiom Group. For the record, line item 23 has been whited out, or liquid whiteout has been used, and that number is $225,276.06. The same has occurred in line item 27. That number is $17,944.80. I believe those are the 2 lines that have liquid whiteout. Both lines have not been initialed by the contractor, but I have read those numbers into the record. Again, this is for Axiom Group for a total bid amount of $1,533,071.25. The third and final bid received for this project is from Access Pacific Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,926,000 even. That's 1926000 from Access Pacific Incorporated.
No.
Vice President Villegas, that concludes the bid openings for today's agenda. We will now go ahead and entertain a motion to receive the bids, open them, and declare them.
Thank you. Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion by Dr. Dr. Davis. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, Dr. Campos, we have a motion by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Corsand I apologize for the exact wording on this, if you can help me out here.
Absolutely. It's to receive, open, and declare the bids forthwith.
Yes, to receive, open, and declare the bids closed.
Great. We will start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
and Commissioner Corzine.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimously. Madam Chair, would you like to move this item forward forthwith?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to our next item of business, and we're going to take up items 2 through 9 together. And we'll have a presentation by Mr. Ruben Flamenco. And I plan on taking items 2 through 9 together, but I'll read in the items for the record. Right. And these are assessment hearings. Item number 2, I'll read them all, and then we can go through them. Okay. All right. Item number 2, and this is in Council District 7. It's an assessment hearing number 1, Mount Gleason Avenue and Hill Road Street. And that's Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing August 15th, 2023. Council filed 230900 S23. Item number 3, assessment hearing number 2, Glendale Boulevard and Farwell Avenue. Number 1, and that's Glendale Boulevard again and Farwell Avenue number 1, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing August 15th, 2023. Council file 23090024. Item number 4 is in Council District 14, and that's assessment for Planada Avenue and Avenue 65, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing August 15th, 2023, and that's Council file 230900 S25. Item number 5, and that's in Council District 5, and that's assessment hearing number 4, and that's Ventura Boulevard and Andasol Avenue number 1, and that's a Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. City Council hearing August 15th, Council Files 230900S26. Item number 6 is in Council District 5, Assessment Hearing number 5, Northvale Road and Dunleer Drive, and that's Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District, City Council Hearing August 15th, Council File 230900S27. Item number 7, and that's Council District 4, and this is Assessment Hearing number 6, Fulton Avenue and Moore Park Street number 1, and that's Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District, City Council Hearing August 15th, 2023. Council File 230900S28. Item number 8, Council District 3, Assessment Hearing number 7, Wells Drive and Casa Drive number 1, and that's Street Lighting and Maintenance Assessment District, City Council File August 15th. City Council Hearing August 15th, 2023, Council File number 230900S29. And item number 9, Council District 10, Assessment Hearing number 8, Adams Boulevard and Bronson Avenue number 1, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District, City Council Hearing August 15th, 2023, Council File 230900S30. And before us, we have Mr. Ruben Flamenco. Thank you.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting. Items 2 through 5 plus items 7 through 9 pertain to lighting districts which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Item 6 pertains to a lighting district which we are creating in conjunction with an MTA-initiated street improvement and bikeway-related project. Ballots for items 2 through 9 were mailed on June 28th, 2023. Ballots for items 2 through 9 must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Tuesday, August 15th. We have not received any objections to date on items 2 through 9. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 2 through 9 forthwith to City Council.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions on this item?
No, so moved items.
Second.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Campos, we have a motion by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Corsan. If you could please take roll call.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation. Again, this is for items 2 through 9. We'll start with you, Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimously. Madam Chair, would you like to consider these items to go forward forthwith?
Please.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Flamenco. Have a good day. All right, and I neglected to just, for the record, state that we are continuing item 14, and that's going to be continued to August 30th, 2023. So if any of our representatives were here to talk about community level contracting to provide an update, that's been postponed for August 30th, 2023.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on then to item number 10. And item number 10 is in all districts, and it's by the Bureau of Sanitation, and it's a memorandum of agreement, an MOA, with the Los Angeles Police Department and Bureau of Sanitation. And this is recommending to execute an MOA between the Los Angeles Police Department and the Bureau of Sanitation to provide security services at the Bureau of Sanitation facilities, Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant, Los Angeles Glendale Water Reclamation Plant, and the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant, and Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant. The term of the MOA will be 5 years from January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2026. The MOA will automatically extend for 1 additional year commencing at January 2027. The subject to the same terms of the conditions of the MOA unless written notice is provided by either party for non-extension. And before us, we have Mr. Arnold Taylor to comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Arnold Taylor. I'm a senior management analyst, and I support Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. And we are here to request approval to execute the memorandum of agreement between the Los Angeles Police Department and LA Sanitation for security services at the 4 plants that were mentioned: Hyperion, Los Angeles Glendale, DC Tillman, and Terminal Island. The original security services agreement ran from January 1st, 2017 through December 31st of 2020. There was an interim agreement which ran from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st of 2021. The new agreement, which will continue the services that LAPD is currently providing to the plants, will be for a term of 5 years with a 1-year automatic extension from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st of 2027. Some of the critical services that LAPD provides to the plant through this agreement are the safety and security of city staff, visitors, and officials at the plant. They enforce rules and the conduct of safety, make arrests, issue citations, conduct preliminary investigations. They complete incident and crime reports, enforce local, state laws and ordinance and regulations pertaining to parking, traffic control. They patrol LA San water reclamation plants, prevent trespassing and unauthorized access into restricted areas. They provide emergency response, effective evacuations, and as a member of the citywide threat assessment team, they provide coordinated response to any workplace violence incidents. And they also assist management in making decisions related to the provisions of law enforcement and security at the water reclamation plant. And they meet at least once a month to coordinate these efforts among the services that are provided. In the new agreement, it will provide for 30 staff. It will be 1 sworn police officer, with the remaining staff being civilian personnel from the LAPD Security Services Division, made up of 1 principal security officer who will be able to provide relief to the sworn officer, 3 senior security officers, and 25 security officers. This is an increase of 3 officers from the previous agreement. It adds 1 principal security officer, the 1 senior security officer, and 1 security officer. Under the previous agreement, there were 27 staff. The new agreement will have 30 staff. The annual direct cost in wages for the new agreement is $2,219,000. The total projected cost in direct cost in wages over the 6 years of the agreement is $13,315,000. The new agreement represents an increase in wages of $286,000. This is mainly due to the addition of the 3 new officers that will be added under the plan. Under the previous contract, the total cost for the wages was $1,933,000. The new agreement is $2,219,000. The funding is provided through transfer from the Financial Management District. It's funded from account 50W170X, and that name of that appropriation is police. And 1/12 of the total amount of the contract is transferred to 1/12 of the total value of the contract is transferred to LAPD each month. At the end of the year, LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, does a reconciliation in terms of the contracted support there to provide to the plants and what was actually provided. And if there's any difference, then the balance is reverted back to LA San, to Public Works. The agreement also calls for LAPD to provide vehicles and to maintain any security vehicles necessary for the security personnel to perform their duties. They also provides for training of the staff. LAPD provides all training and ensures that their officers are in compliance with California Commission on Police Officer Standards and training requirements. In terms of overtime, the agreement does state that LAPD staffing is required to meet the minimum deployment levels as stated in the agreement, and it is anticipated that the total cost would not exceed the projected expenditures for LAPD, and that if any overtime is needed, then the cost will be offset by salary savings from the under deployment. And so LA San requests approval to have this agreement executed so that LAPD can continue to provide the services to the 4 water reclamation plants.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your report. Commissioners, do we have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. This contract essentially gives us services for 24-hour security from the
Some
LAPD.
plants have, yes, sir. Some plants do have 24-hour security. Other plants in the development of the new MOA uh, have determined that they don't need 24-hour security, but some of the plants do. It does provide 24-hour security services at those plants that deem that they need that.
Okay. But it will have comprehensive security for operations for all of the plants in terms of those that don't operate 24 hours, but yet during their operating hours, security will be available from
Absolutely.
this
Yes, sir.
contract. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? And we have the resources of vehicles and training that LAPD will provide each of the employees that will be providing security. They will provide the training for them as well as the transportation that they might need to get around the facilities that they are covering
That will be
for us.
provided directly by LAPD. Yes.
And in terms of the capacity of the security, do we have in this contract areas that are being covered with security that were not covered before from them? Or have they all been covering each of the facilities mentioned in the proposal before us?
There are
They've
no
covered all of them before.
there are no new facilities added to there. The 4 water reclamation
The
plants
four
are
are new for
they are
them.
not new. They are currently being
They're current.
serviced by LAPD.
Okay.
They will continue those services, but the new agreement does call, for example, there was a determination that Terminal Island needed 24-hour security. So that's one of the reasons for the additional
The, for
amongst the new 3
the
staff.
three additional staff that you mentioned
Yes,
will
sir.
be placed at Terminal Island, and therefore, is that correct?
They won't all be placed at Terminal Island. The principal security officer is mainly to get released to. We only have one sworn police officer,
So
so we need when any incident or emergency arrives, that sworn police officer would need to go to the particular.
the principal officer will provide assistance and supervision
Yes,
and
sir.
management of the team.
Yes, sir.
What I'm trying to get clear on is the Terminal Island assignment is new for this security
It's not
team?
new, but additional officer there is new. The hours
The additional
for
officer
24
there
hours.
is new.
They will have 24-hour security.
Okay, at Terminal Island.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other new facility in this package that the team will inherit as a result of this agreement?
No, they're
They
only
have
the 4
covered all of
plants.
the others before.
Yes, sir.
So with that, what would you say has been our evaluation of their performance from the past?
Fortunately, I have been with LA Sant and particularly Hyperion for several years, and I was here when we had contract security. We hired a company called North American Security. They were fine. The relationship with LAPD, being a member of the city of Los Angeles, allows for more coordination, allows for smoother access and operations. For example, if we have an event at the Environmental Learning Center, or we have a city official, or we have someone visit the plant, under the private contract, we would have to go and negotiate again with the company for that particular event, or we'd have to pay overtime for those officers, the private security officers. Under the LAPD agreement, that type of activity is covered under the agreement, so it's much smoother to work with the officer in charge or the police sergeant. He's in the meeting, so he knows what type of event is coming up at the plant, able to provide the security for those activities. They're familiar with city employees, contractors who visit the plant, so that they know the difference between a contractor, city employee, what places they're supposed to be able to have access to. So the relationship in terms of effectiveness and operating smoothly is much better with LAPD. It
So
was
you
fine with the private security, but there were complications that arose with that.
So you find that the capacity and the knowledge that LAPD staff bring seems to be a cutting edge better because of their familiarity with us, and they're part of the same system. Is
Absolutely,
that correct?
yes, sir.
And that they have more effective communication also as a result of their familiarity and their practice of working with us on other matters. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Corson? No? No questions? Just a question on my end. This report says that it's for 5 years and it's retroactive. They're currently providing the service for us, correct?
Yes, LAPD has graciously continued to provide services under the terms of the prior agreement. This agreement will be retroactive to January 1st, 2022.
Okay. And why is it coming before the board today on August 9th, 2023, if it was executed in January 2022?
There were several reasons for the delay in terms of getting this agreement to this point. Figuring out what services are needed at the plant. I'll speak in terms of on the LA Sand side first. Determining what the plant's needs were took quite some time in terms of figuring that out amongst the plants. Let's see here, the funding, making sure that the appropriation will be available for these services, and that was done in coordination with the Financial Management District, and the review of the agreement in total in terms of that was the most items that took the most time in terms of on the LA Sand part, on the part of LAPD, they needed to project the wages and costs, and we did receive that on June 16th of 2022 from LAPD. So those are some of the activities that took time in terms of developing the current agreement.
Okay, thank you. So like a little over a year and a half then.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and they were currently doing those services even though we added Tillman?
Well, Tillman was already there, but we are adding 24-hour services.
Excuse me, Terminal Island?
Yes.
Okay, and who was providing the services before they started?
No, LAPD has always provided services there under the prior agreement. The difference is 24-hour service.
Oh, got it. Okay, all right. And just for clarification, when you say security officers, are those sworn LAPD officers?
No, there's only one sworn officer who is the police sergeant. All the other officers will be civilian employees of the LAPD. They work under the LAPD Security Services Division. It's part of the LAPD, but it's under Security Services Division. They are not sworn officers.
All right, so for the record, and so for the public's edification, we have one sworn police sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 2 senior security officers. And we have that are not, 3 senior security officers that are not LAPD. And we have 25 security officers. Is that correct?
It's correct. There's only one sworn officer. All the other officers will be civilian city staff through the Security Services Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. But you're correct. There's only one sworn officer.
Okay, so that is 28 city staff that are providing security for our facilities. Is that correct?
When the new agreement will be effective, it will be a total of 30. Under the prior agreement, it was 27. One police sergeant and 26 civilian security officers.
Got it. Okay. All right. And when we say security officers, if you can just provide a little bit more context to that. What is it that they provide, and are they armed, or what is it that they have the authority to be able to protect our facilities?
They are not, the sworn officer is the armed officer.
They are?
They are not.
They're not.
The sworn officer is the armed officer. The security services officers are not sworn. They do have authority under LAPD in terms of traffic. They have authority to detain persons. They have authority to respond to workplace violence incidents. Uh, they they perform all of the services that the sworn officer would perform, but it's not under the color of law or the authority of um, under the color of law and carrying weapons.
Okay. Was there, just bear with me here with my last question. Was there a comparison done with another security company that would be able to provide similar services, perhaps a lower cost than the 6 million that we're providing LAPD? Plus well, it's coming under the auspice of LAPD, but they're not necessarily officers of LAPD, they're city employees. Was there a comparison done with other security companies that we could have used to have any cost savings?
The Not a direct comparison because the we've had this agreement since 2017. However, other departments do use LAPD's. LAPD has a contract with a company called American Security Services USA, and departments like the LA Fire Department, the library, they piggyback off of the contract that belongs to LAPD. So we would have the option if we wanted to go through the contract that LAPD has to piggyback off the contract and then hire that company on our own. And I did pull out the some of comparisons to the private company in terms of cost comparison. They have a position called, and these are the most conservative conservative wages. They have a professional security officer, and their rate is $71.56. You compare that to the police sergeant, whose rate is $73.05, and these are rates from the agreement. The principal security officer under the agreement is $41.30. Under the private company contract, if we went through LAPD and piggybacked off of that contract, they have a position called a post commander, and that would be $50.56. Senior security officer under the agreement that we're proposing is $35.68. Under the private company, they have a shift supervisor, which is $50.18. For a security officer under the agreement, the rate is $33.59. For an unarmed security officer under the private company's agreement, the rate is $42.20. So in almost every instance, the wage rate is higher if we decided to piggyback through the LAPD contract to hire the private company versus going through LAPD directly. And we also would have the option to develop to research and find a security company on our own and develop a contract, but that would take some time to have a contract approved, but that would be an option as well. We haven't
Okay.
explored the cost of that.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for that information. At the end of the day, this 5-year contract will be costing about a little over $36 million.
That is including the
Yes, in the MOA.
the cap cost. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That is all my questions. Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any other questions? Do we have a motion? Oh, Dr. Campos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Commissioners, I'd like to request a friendly amendment to this item number 10. The MOU is between two city departments, and under Executive Directive number 3, the mayor has requested approval of all MOUs between city departments. So this item should be subject to approval by the mayor. In addition to that, recommendation number 1 should read approve instead of execute an MOU. And then thirdly, authorizing the president or 2 members of the board to execute the MOU is a missing recommendation in this item. So again, 3 friendly amendments. 1 is to make it subject to the mayor's approval. 2, to replace the word execute on recommendation number 1 with the word approve. And number 3, to add a new recommendation, recommendation number 2, to read as follows. Authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the MOU.
Move as amended by Dr. Campos in his offered amendments to the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a motion by Dr. Davis and a second by Commissioner Corsand? And Dr. Campos, if you could please take a roll call.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
and Commissioner Corzine.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimously. Madam Chair, would you like to move this item forward forthwith?
Please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time
Thank you.
today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Then let's move on with item number 11. And this is in all council districts, and this is a budget increase. This is a task order solicitation, or a TOS, and that's SN 85, Amendment Number 3 for Tetra Tech Incorporated, and requesting that the board, recommending that the board authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or her designee to issue Amendment Number 3 to TOS SN 85 to Tetra Tech, Inc., increasing the budget from $3 million to $4.7 million to continue to fund stakeholder outreach and community engagement efforts for wastewater and stormwater capital improvement projects. The term of engagement remains the same. And before us, we have Tanya Durrell. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Vice President, Commissioner Villegas, pardon me, Commissioner Davis, good to see you, Commissioner Corson, and City Attorney Choi. I am here this morning with my colleague who will get started, Chris DeMombrum, and tell you a little bit of background about this contract. And then I will speak to the community outreach team that does all of the work in terms of the clean water projects for LA Sand and how critical that work is. But I will turn it over to Chris right now, who will give you more of a background. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, commissioners and Vice President Villegas. Thank you for your time. As Tanya said, my name is Chris DeMombrum. Sorry, a little bit tall.
Okay.
My name is Chris DeMombrum. I am with the Bureau of Sanitation, City of Los Angeles. I am an environmental engineer, and I am the contract manager for this particular TOS. Tanya and I are the co-managers of this contract, as she mentioned. I handle all the contract work itself, the amendments, all of the invoicing, and then the business inclusion certification components of it. She and her team of the community outreach specialists handle all of the community engagement endeavors and ensuring that the critical work that needs to be performed is fully represented to the community that is impacted by it. So I'm going to go through a brief history of what brought us to here, and then talk about the actual amendment itself, and then the business inclusion. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask while I'm speaking. Thank you. So as mentioned, we're here to request additional funding for the contract for the wastewater capital improvement contract, or wastewater capital improvement construction endeavors. So let's see. To shed light on the work that's performed and the necessity for it, additional funding, I will provide a brief background, and then, let's see, pardon me. Prior to the initiation of the TOS in 2018, the Bureau of Engineering performed the outreach activities for the wastewater-related construction activities. When LA Sand accepted that responsibility, we presumed that the level of engagement would be the same level of engagement that Bureau of Engineering actually held to, which was approximately $500,000 per year. So when we initiated the contract in the beginning, we had requested $2 million, thinking that it would satisfy for the duration of the 4 years. When we started doing the community outreach endeavors, we found out quickly that it was roughly about $1 million per year that was needed. So in 2020, we had actually amended the contract to request additional funding. At that time, we had requested greater than the $1 million that was actually granted to us, but due to budget constraints, we were only allowed to receive $1 million for that. And at this time, it was October 2020, so we were in cost containment per the mayor's office. And that in 2021, we had actually received notification that we could begin doing the community outreach efforts yet again. So from that point in time, we continued as we were previously. In between October 2020 and when we were authorized to utilize the funds and no longer in cost containment, we had a very scaled back amount of community outreach, and it was actually performed under a different contract. And then when we were utilizing the funds, we found that we would actually be able to get to the end of the contract in 2022, the 4 years, and we still had a certain amount of funds left over. So we decided that we were going to initiate the time extension that was written into the original task agreement. So with that, we had then had an additional amount of time that we could continue performing the community outreach. However, the issue is that we no longer had sufficient funding to get to the end of it. Thus, we had to initiate the third amendment, which is why we're here today. So we had initiated this process in earnest in September of 2022, and that the process to get to this point was a long one. It was longer than we had anticipated, and that the $1.71 million that was afforded to us through the Financial Management Division with sanitation, we had anticipated that we were probably going to be using roughly half of it in fiscal. I don't want to say we were going to be using half of it. We were afforded the opportunity to use half of that funds within the 2022-2023 fiscal year, and that now we're actually in fiscal year 23-24. So that's something that you'll note in the board report, how there is actually a differentiation between 2022-23 and then 23-24, and the amount is that $850,000. So that actually brings us, in terms of the contract, to this point. Then I would like to express to you the actual work that's being performed and how it impacts the business inclusion program itself. So the parent contract, Tetra Tech, has pledged the minority business inclusion at 18% for women business enterprise, 4% for small business enterprise, be 25%, and 8% for emerging business enterprise. This is for their parent contract. Our TOS that we have actually by far and away exceeded that amount. So for minority business enterprises, we are actually at 62.5, the contract is pledged at 62.5, and that we've actually been able to achieve 61.5. For women business enterprise, it was pledged at 12.7%, but we're actually at 19.5. So we're actually doing much better at that. For small business and emerging business enterprises, it was pledged at 73.5% for both of those, and we're actually exceeding that at 80.5% for both of them. And the disabled veteran business enterprise, unfortunately, we don't have any sub-consultants that perform that work. So as you can see, this contract is by far and away, it is providing opportunity to the business inclusion program, and the community outreach activities are actually performed by specialists that Tanya directs, and actually I will let her continue on this component of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. So this TOS represents a critical part of community outreach and engagement for all LA San clean water projects impacting communities across the city. Its pause over the last several months has caused somewhat of a decline in community outreach for those very important stakeholders who are accustomed to our high-level community outreach. So we're very anxious to get it up and going again. The community outreach team, known as COT, under my direction, is made up primarily of consultants through a staff augmentation contract, and they handle such important projects as the recently completed Venice Dual Force Main project, Hyperion maintenance updates, the Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant Project, and NOS North Outfall Sewer, large projects that impact the community public right-of-way. And they coordinate with important stakeholders and partners like the Bureau of Engineering, CONAD, Department of Transportation, and others, and provide regular and timely updates concerning project schedules and impacts. For example, right now we have the Bayona Creek project that is part of our Safe Clean Water program being constructed, and there are a number of complaints. This project is also involving Culver City, and the Culver City the community manager for Culver City, pardon me, has shown up to that project site concerned about the impacts of, regarding noise. And our community outreach person is there leading the way and advocating for the residents who are impacted by the noise and vibration. And we are putting together a program to relocate people if we have to. So that is the critical kind of work that we do on the ground in terms of coming up with creative mitigation measures to address impacts that are underway. And so I wanted to give you an idea of the kind of work that they do. Also, this team is a very high-level community outreach team. They're well known in the city by the council districts, by the neighborhood councils, by community members and other community agencies, schools, churches. And when folks have projects in their communities, a lot of sewer projects, they know who to call on our team to get the information. And so the council districts rely heavily on our team to make sure that we are communicating updates on a regular basis. They are, as I said, well respected. And to illustrate that, I'd like to share that our team member, Allison Arnold, was recognized this year as Community Engagement Person of the Year by the California Water Environment Association. So we are very proud of her. She is a top-notch outreach person, and it is reflected in that recognition. I just wanted to share the sort of strategies that we use to make sure that people are aware of the projects that are happening in their communities, because obviously these projects affect traffic. They cause, as I just illustrated a little bit earlier, they can sometimes cause noise and vibration. And so our folks are on the ground doing door-to-door canvassing. They produce fact sheets. They work hand in hand with the council offices to coordinate briefings for the community. We work with the neighborhood councils to present at their meetings to make sure that the community members have the latest information about our projects. We also put out weekly email campaigns, again, so that people are apprised of any changes, any schedule impacts, any other things that may cause impacts to their day-to-day lives. We also do social media posts for our marketing director to place on our website to also inform people. So there are a number of strategies that we utilize to make sure that people are informed of the various impacts on regarding the projects. So I hope that this has given you an idea of how important this work is and how critical these individuals are in working hand in hand with LA SAN staff to reach out to our various stakeholders, businesses, residents, motorists traveling through communities to ensure that they have the information that they need. We are transparent in the information that we provide. We like to say that we are problem solvers. We take the complaints before they reach you, the commissioners, also before they reach the council districts. And so we just wanted to reiterate how critical and important this work is. So thank you for your time, and we'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Davis, did you have any questions?
I'm sorry.
Okay. I just have some minor questions. Thank you for your report, both of you. I see that this TOS was originated, it looks like in 2018. And now we're back here for an amendment and an increase in the budget. I'm wondering, why does the subcontractors, why can't, why do they need to be under Tetra Tech, an engineering firm, to be able to do this? And why aren't we able to solicit and put this work out to be able to get a bigger pool of firms than the ones that Tetra Tech uses?
Thank you. That is a very good question. The contract was initiated through our on-call contract that we had within Wastewater Engineering Services Division, and that it was afforded to me at that time. And that the thought behind having an engineering firm be the prime for it was, one, because the on-call contract utilizes the engineering firms primarily, to my knowledge, all of them, or at least the ones that I've worked with, as the prime contractor for activities that are performed. And secondly, if there are ever any engineering questions that came up that could not be answered by the subconsultants themselves, that the prime contractor would be able to put together a response to those requests for information. So that's the reason why an engineering firm was chosen, and that the subcontractors, the community outreach team themselves, they are actually made up of primarily communications groups, and then also there is within that there are people who actually have engineering backgrounds as well. So the team that we have selected actually has a very strong knowledge of the wastewater conveyance and treatment system, as well as like the community outreach and the ability to communicate those special topics to the community members in a way that they can actually understand, and not in engineering speak, if you will.
Thank you. Yeah, I gathered that just from reading the report, that was why, but I just didn't know if you could take a step back and do this differently.
I was going to add, Commissioner, that was a great observation, and you're right. I think the contract was created in a way that it had been done, in the past. But community outreach is a major part, one of the top priorities for LA San and for Public Works, and we need to create outreach contracts that are specific to that area. And so I think we will start taking a look at that and doing things differently going forward, because it is such an important part of the work we do. And we have to certainly communicate to the publics we serve. And that is only done best when we work hand in hand with the experts who have that knowledge to support us.
Thank you. And then just one last clarifying question. So the outreach that will be done is for wastewater collection system projects only?
For stormwater as well as wastewater. For this particular contract, a lot of the outreach is surrounding sewer construction work. Our team also does support on another contract, the Safe Clean Water projects, as I just mentioned a little bit earlier about the Guyana Creek TMDL. So, we support the entire clean water umbrella.
Okay. I appreciate that. And then one last question. I thought the last one was my last question. Your on-call list for consultants, when does that expire?
That will be expiring in July of 2024.
Okay. Are you prepared to go back to do a new one?
Currently, I am not engaged in those activities. We can, come back to you with information about that. I do know that there's a unit within Bureau of Sanitation that is currently working on that, and I unfortunately don't have information sufficient enough to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you'd like to. This is Nancy Lanton with the Central Contracting Unit with Sanitation. She can actually speak to that.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Nancy Lanton, LA Sanitation. Yes, my group we did currently release a new RFQ for a new set of on-call contracts. We received proposals in the beginning of this year. Proposals are currently under review for BIP evaluation with the Bureau of Contract Administration. So we'll be before the board through hopefully by the end of the year, since contracts are expiring July 2024, to allow for the rest of the city approval processes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Commissioners, do we have any other
Yes.
question? Go right ahead.
Thank you. So I went through the packet and I read through deliverables. Some of it is simple, like electronic minutes, and some of it is a little bit complicated, which I understand. But what I don't see is goals. I don't see, aside from goals, measurables on what is a good job. Like if it's marketing, it's not like a task order to build something physical. It's a task order to build something intangible. So how are you measuring whether their work itself is translating into a positive image of Hyperion and sanitation?
For me, I meet regularly with the team members. I meet one-on-one with each one to make sure that they are meeting deadlines. I meet with their primes, their principals who lead the firms that they work under. So we have very clear expectations in terms of what they need to deliver. I would say in general, though, we know that we're doing a good job by the feedback that we get from the council districts, from the neighborhood councils. The fact that we are sought after within Public Works. People know, oh, call COT. They can mitigate this issue with a community member. We have a wonderful, great reputation amongst our colleagues, and I would point to being recognized by this environmental group for extraordinary community outreach as another way to show that we are hitting the mark. Community outreach is it can be difficult to understand how well you're doing because we don't take a cookie cutter approach. We have to assess each project on its own in terms of the communities and the publics that we're serving to determine their needs in terms of how we communicate with them, how they are best receiving information. And so we take that kind of assessment on very early, and we build in those kind of markers in the contract to make sure that the consultants are meeting the goals.
Just for when this comes back in 2024, what I would like to see is some tangible metrics on measuring their success over time, not just feedback, but some ways to track it. I know some of the subs have in other contracts, not in Public Works that I've seen, but in other campaigns, they've provided how they're going to track and provide measurables on their individual success. So maybe Tetra Tech wouldn't know how to do that because they're not a communications firm, but I think their subs could help develop some way to really track and pinpoint areas of, soft spots that can be fleshed out, especially when it comes to, I see this more as brand management than community engagement, because they're really building out the brand of Hyperion as a good neighbor and LA San as a good operator of the facility. So it'd be good to see more of a focus on, as they say, a Q rating for sanitation within the wider community. That's just my feedback.
Yeah, no, well taken. And we can share our monthly reports. They provide weekly reports. I think those kind of metrics may be helpful for you to see. We take a look at, for example, when we start a project, how many people were engaging with our team as opposed to at the end. So maybe we develop a contact list that includes 200 more members and at the beginning. So that's something that shows us that we were successful in talking to people and having them sign up to receive more information. So I think those kind of metrics can certainly be outlined for you, and we'd be happy to share it.
Thank you. And commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this item?
I have just one
Oh.
inquiry. I'm sorry, I just
Go right
added
ahead.
this on. You did mention in your report that business inclusion was a part of this effort. Did I hear you say that?
Yes, I spoke about the information that the utilization of the different consultants and their their certifications for minority business inclusion, enterprise and women business enterprise, and then the others as well. So yes, we have that outlined in the board report.
Okay, and did you know if in fact, I don't know what happened to my computer here, but what impact did business inclusion have on the engineering firm that's a part of it? Do you happen to know that?
Tetra Tech.
Tetra Tech.
The,
Tetra
the
Tech.
impact that the business inclusion program had on the overall contract, I don't know if I can answer that directly. What I can say indirectly is that Tetra Tech, they have really enjoyed working with the sub-consultants, and that they do look to them for their direction on how to proceed when communicating with the public, and that the sub-consultants that were actually chosen, they do fulfill those different business inclusion, certifications and that, but I don't know if I can fully answer your question the way you asked it.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's good enough. Thank you. I move that we accept this item before us.
Thank you. And before we do that, I think we are just going to make a minor suggestion on the recommendation. And Dr. Campos, I think I'm just going to check in with you. It says recommending that the board authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or her designee to issue. I think it's the or her designee. Is that correct?
That is correct. The proposal on the table for your consideration is to strike out or her designee so that the director of sanitation would be the one authorized as opposed to delegating the delegation of authority.
Okay. Thank you. So we're just going to authorize the director of sanitation, and then we're going to strike or her designee. Thank you. Do we have a second on this item? I'll second that. Dr. Campos, if we can please take a roll call.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corzan.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimously. Again, this is as amended, sorry. And Madam Chair, would you like to consider this item to move forward forthwith?
Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on then to item number 12. And this is the Bureau of Street Services, and this is an emergency nuisance abatement of vacant lot located at 116 East 59th Place, recommending that the board approve the Bureau of Street Services request to clean a nuisance property located at 116 East 59th Place under an emergency declaration. And number 2, request the city attorney to review the emergency request and approve to form the legality to the city clerk. And this item has been on our agenda several times and continued with updates at different dates. And I will turn this over to Dr. Campos.
Good morning, everyone. Again, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be before your board presenting an update on this item. This has been on your docket for about 5 months, going on 6 months, to do the nuisance abatement on 59th Place. I'm pleased to report that last Thursday, August 3rd, 2023, the property was abated in terms of the nuisance, and it took 8 departments, about 32 individuals, to go out there and clean up the property and clear out the abatement. Wanted to also give you an update on next steps before I give some accolades and also some acknowledgments of all those individuals. One is the long-term goal for the property is to propose a conversion of the property, an empty lot, vacant lot, to a a parking lot facility. I have introduced the owner's representative with the planning department. We did have a meeting also on August 3rd, 2023 with the planning department in terms of what the conditional use permit process, application process would be. The owners were given an orientation and also provided many tools and resources on how to start the process. That process could take anywhere from a couple of months up to about 6 months, and that is the long-term goal, is to convert that property from a vacant lot into a parking lot. And the next step for me on my end, once this item is received and filed, then I will prepare a report back to City Council to report back with the status update. Again, the property owner did incur all costs associated with the cleanup of this nuisance abatement. However, the city did provide support services in as much as there was individuals that were unhoused on the property, and then also any support services in terms of cleaning the property up to code and also in compliance with the municipal code on our end. So with that said, again, as I mentioned, 8 departments, 32 individuals. I'd like to quickly just acknowledge them, since this was a team effort. It wasn't something that was just done by myself or the Bureau of Street Services, but it was collectively a city effort from the Council District 9, Sherilyn Correa, Krista Canas, and James Westbrooks played a critical role in securing not only the stakeholders, but also securing support services from LAPD, my apologies. From the Bureau of Sanitation, we have Assistant Director Potter, Robert Potter, also Chief Wong, Adam Smith, Michael Mullen, and then also from the Livability Services Division, Armando Cabrera, who is a senior environmental compliance inspector. He was out at the forefront on Thursday the 3rd. Gabriel Miranda, Domingo Orozco, and Salvador Rosales also played critical roles in this cleanup, in this abatement. From the Bureau of Street Services, as you mentioned, Assistant Director Gary Harris, Craig Shaw, Chief Rivera, Abram Tejada, John Bennix and Michael Cox also played a critical role. LAPD was out there as well in the morning. This operation started at 7 a.m. And it concluded approximately around 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the 3rd. From the Department of Transportation, we had Chief Hale, Brian Hale, and Captain Kenneth Hill that assisted us for any potential towing of vehicles that were on the public right-of-way. Luckily, there was 2 vehicles. One was assisted by towing services by LAPD. The second vehicle that was on site was actually someone that voluntarily moved their vehicle. It was an unhoused individual that voluntarily moved that vehicle out of the property on their own. LASA was there as well, provided services and offered the services. That individual did decline services from the housing authority on that day, but also from the LASA group, we have Ari Hamilton, David Hare, Nancy Mercado, Supervisor Gary Mitchell, Director Kim Barnett, and also Gerardo Novedo, who is the lead for the Blue Zone teams, which is basically a dedicated team from LASA that goes out and deploys within each district. Again, this is SPA CD9 Blue Zone team from LASA. And last but not least, we have our City Attorney's Office, Gita O'Neill and Paul Prissel, who played critical roles in not only giving us legal advice and opinions, but also Paul assisted us in getting the right of entry form signed by the owner and the representative, and also coordinating with LAPD. Of course, the Board of Public Works, many of us participated in this cleanup and also the coordination. Just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to acknowledge all those individuals and all the departments that assisted with us in this abatement. So in conclusion, I will take any questions that you may have, but in conclusion, we are recommending your board just to receive and file, not to take action on the report that's before you from the Bureau of Street Services, but rather receive and file this report. My next plan of action on my end is to report back to City Council to close this out on their end. And then, of course, the baton has been passed from us to the Department of City Planning in regards to the long-term plans for this property. So with that, I will take any questions from your board at this time. Thank you.
You don't have any questions? Do you have any questions, Commissioner Corson? Excellent work. I know it took a little bit of time, but thank you to all of our bureaus that helped out and be able to clean up this site in Council District 9. And it is in Council District 9, I know that, because we've heard this item so many times. Okay. Thank you for the update, Dr. Campos. We don't have any questions at this time, but we're appreciative of the updates and that this area was cleaned up and abated. And do we need to take any further action on this?
I don't believe you do. However, I'll defer to our attorney, Ms. Chow, in terms of the action. My proposal for your board is to receive and file the report, not actually accepting the report, in as much as the Board of Public Works, in collaboration with all the other 7 departments, really did a team effort to abate this property. So again, our proposal is to have a motion to receive and file the report at this time. We can do a motion to receive and file, or I can note, or I can note no objection and then close it out.
Yeah, no objections.
No objections. Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are done with that item. Then let's take up item number 13, and this is by BCA and BOE, a joint report, and this is in Council District 6. And it's a contract acceptance, a sidewalk repair program, a small sidewalk repair access request acceleration package number 11, and recommending that the board accept the contract for work order E1908710 and C128491. And we have Mr. George Spindola to present. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. George Spindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The small sidewalk repair access request acceleration project number 11 was executed on April 26, 2021 to JL Moody Construction and Development Incorporated in the amount of $66,510.63 with a not to exceed limit of $99,999. Notice to proceed was issued on June 1st, 2021. This project consisted of reconstruction of approximately 100 linear feet of sidewalk, 1 alley intersection, and asphalt to meet requirements with the American with Disabilities Act. This is primarily located in CD6. 2 change orders were issued, increasing total contract amount by $8,817.78, bringing the total cost of this contract to $75,328.41. Final corrections were completed on September 24th, 2021. Funding was through the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program Special Fund 59V. The contract has complied with the Equal Employment Opportunities and Labor Compliance requirement of the contract. There are no unresolved property complaints or disputed funds. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions on this item?
I just have some comments. I wanted to tell him I really appreciate having seen this and hope that we can advance some more of these kinds of motions that are a reflection of our efforts to make sure that our small businesses are really activating that small sidewalk program that we introduced some time ago. It's good to see our small businesses vibrant and working in the ways in which our other contractors are working.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Davis. All right, and I will move this item if we have a second. Second, all right. Dr. Campos, we have a motion by myself and a second by Pro Tem Davis. If you could please take roll call.
Absolutely. We'll start the voting tabulation. We'll start with you, Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Corzan.
Aye.
This motion is adopted and carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Madam Chair, would you like to move item 13 forthwith?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right, I think we are, does that clear the desk, Dr. Campos?
Yes, it does.
All right, then we are adjourned at 11:25 on August 9th. Thank you so much.